I was an introvert in high school and didn't interact much with my classmates or teachers. I was often in trouble for not getting involved with activities. I much preferred being on my own than being with people who would judge me or make fun of me over unfounded remarks and name-calling. Being alone was very peaceful. I did have one friend at school named Jimmy. He was my best friend. We used to hang out, study together, watch movies, and even play catch. He was the only person I could really tolerate. It was an ordinary day at school when Jimmy and I were walking to lunch, and we noticed a boy from a younger year was celebrating his birthday with his classmates, and someone had arranged a mime artist to entertain them. For some reason, that mime gave me eerie vibes. He just looked creepy. We made eye contact, and he waved at me. He wore typical mime artist clothing, black trousers with a black and white striped jumper, and he had his face painted. School ended at 2:45 p.m., but as a punishment for not handing in my homework, I got detention and was told I had to stay behind and do it in class. The class was empty, and I was the only one sitting there. My teacher came to check on me and said she would be back in half an hour and expected my work to be finished. It hadn't been more than probably 5 to 10 minutes when I heard a slight knock at the door. I looked up towards the door, but I couldn't see anyone. I assumed it was my imagination or someone else wandering the halls, so I ignored it and continued doing my homework. Then there was another knock, but this time it was louder and more evident.
"Hello? Who's there?"
I shouted. There was no reply. I thought it was maybe Jimmy or some other kid messing with me and trying to scare me. I stood up, walked towards the door, and opened it to find no one in the hallway. It was strange, and I wasn't mentally prepared for that. I closed the door, took a deep breath, turned my back, and saw the mime artist from earlier standing at the window of the classroom. It made me jump, and my heart started beating really fast. I don't know what it was about him, but he made my skin go cold. Why was he standing at the window? All the other kids had gone home now. He just stood there grinning at me with this forced fake smile. I wasn't going to hang around, so I grabbed my things and ran to an exit on the other side of the building where my bike was chained up. I took out the keys to my bicycle's lock and fumbled around trying to get my lock off as quickly as I could, scared that the mime was going to walk around the corner. I eventually got my bike free and rode home as fast as I could. Thankfully, I reached home safely and told my mom about this guy. My mom accused me of being a liar. The school had rung her as I had left without telling anyone, and she was too busy telling me off than listening to me to tell her about this creepy mime in school. I was grounded and sent to my room to do my homework. Later that night, I heard a tapping sound at my window. I pulled back the curtain, but there was no one there. My bedroom is on the first floor, looking onto the main street, so it wouldn't be easy for someone to knock on my window. I went back to doing my homework and heard the tapping again. This time, when I looked outside, I saw the mime standing across the street, looking up at me, grinning and waving. After telling me off, I called my mom, who came to the window and saw the mime, and yelled at my dad. My dad came in and saw the man and told us to stand back from the window. He ran downstairs and out of the house. By the time he got outside and onto the street, the guy had disappeared. We didn't even see which way he went. The next day, my mom took me to school and spoke to the principal. She said that there wasn't a mime hired for anyone's birthday, as this was against school policy. Multiple kids vouched for there being a mime at school, and it was reported to the police. How he gained access to the school without the teachers knowing or questioning him being there is quite concerning. I heard that in the next town over to ours, 3 houses had been burgled by someone dressed up as a mime, and they think he moved on to our town, and we were the first target, but I don't think this was the same guy. Why would a burglar go and visit kids in a school? And why did he take such a liking to me to taunt me and follow me home? I think given the chance, he might have tried to kidnap me. It still gives me the creeps when I see mimes. This happened when I was back in junior high and involved me and 3 of my friends, Kyle, Dibley, and Asa. Our school had been closed down as it was structurally unsafe, and we were transferred to another school while ours was demolished and rebuilt. Our school had a basement in it that led all under the school. There were rumors that there were rooms that had been locked and no one had entered them for years. Apparently, these rooms held records of past students and incidents, which I thought would be quite fascinating to find and look at. My friends and I decided that we wanted to go check it out and go exploring. Although the school was unsafe, it was unlikely to fall down without some assistance. We decided to all sneak out of the house and meet up at about 10 p.m., as it would be dark and our parents would most likely be in bed. I told my parents I wasn't feeling well and was going to get an early night. I never got into any trouble as a kid, so my mom and dad wouldn't question me going to bed early and sneaking out. I met my friends in the woods near our school. We took torches and masks and remember it feeling like we were on some secret mission or something. As the school had been closed down for a few weeks by this point, a lot of the windows and doors had been vandalized and smashed, which made it easy for us to get in. We got into the old school by climbing through a broken window that had been boarded up. We were able to lift the corner of the board up enough for us to get in. We wandered around the school, checking out the principal's office, cafeteria, kitchen, and other various rooms that were off limits to students. It was really surreal to walk around, and once we'd explored everywhere upstairs, it was time to explore the basement. The lights wouldn't work, as all the electricity had been shut off to the school, and with no windows to let in any light from the moon and any lighting outside, it was pitch black. The basement entrance had previously been padlocked, but it was broken off like someone had beat us to it, meaning anything cool to take would probably already have been taken. At the back of one of the rooms, we found an old piano. We pressed a few of the keys to see if it still worked, which it did, but sounded like it hadn't been tuned in years. We walked around the rest of the rooms in the basement, not really finding anything exciting, just a bunch of old school equipment, like sports gear and old files which were empty. We decided to call it a night, and as we were walking up the stairs, we heard a faint sound coming from deep inside the basement. It was the piano. Someone was playing the keys on the piano. Me and my friends all looked at each other, scared and curious. We took a vote on whether we were going to go downstairs and see what was hitting the piano. Asa and Kyle voted to go home, and Dibley and I voted to go check it out. As it was a tie vote, Dibley and I said we would go and check it out together, while Asa and Kyle waited at the top of the basement stairs. We went into the room where the piano was playing. As we approached the door to the room, the playing stopped. We shone our flashlights around the room, but couldn't see anyone or anything. We joked, saying maybe it was a rat or something running across the keys. As we turned to walk out of the basement, we heard a shuffle come from the back corner of the room. I shone my flashlight and saw a man. I didn't have a chance to get a good look at him before he started screaming and started charging towards us. Dibley and I ran towards the stairs, shouting at Asa and Kyle to run. We ran to the classroom where we climbed into the school. My friends climbed out of the window, and as I was halfway through the window, the man grabbed my leg and bit me on my calf. I screamed and managed to kick and pull away as my friends pulled me from the outside. We ran off into the woods, and as soon as we were sure we weren't being followed, I stopped to look at my leg. The man had drawn blood and left teeth marks on my calf. I don't know who that man was, but he never followed us out. I had to go home and tell my parents, and they took me to the hospital. They notified the police, who checked the school but didn't find anyone. We couldn't really give a description, so the man was never caught. The school was demolished 3 weeks later. For context, I'm a female and was about 17 at the time this happened. I was popular in high school, and without sounding too big-headed, a lot of the guys wanted to date me, and a lot of the girls wanted to be me. I was a cheerleader and surpassed most of the other students in math, science, and English. Mr. Westerman was my science teacher, and I would often catch him looking at me in a way that a teacher shouldn't really look at their students. It didn't really bother me at the time. I would tease him and smile, or touch my hair when I caught him looking. This one day, some drama happened with one of my best friends. She had caught her boyfriend cheating, and was sending me texts while I was in class. I couldn't exactly ignore her, as I knew how heartbroken she would be. I didn't really want to skip class, as I had perfect attendance, and I planned on getting a scholarship into some fancy college. Anyway, I was responding to my friend, and Mr. Westerman caught me using my phone, and he said he would need to confiscate it, and I could have it back at the end of the day. I protested, saying my friend needed me, and he said it was that or detention. I had cheerleading practice after school, so I really didn't want detention. After school had finished, I rushed back to Mr. Westerman's classroom to get my phone, and when I got there, his door was locked. I could see Mr. Westerman at his desk, and it looked like he had my phone plugged into his computer. I knocked on the door to get his attention, and he just looked at me and continued doing what he was doing. I knocked again, and he told me to wait and would be out in a minute. Eventually, Mr. Westerman walked over to the door, passed me my cell, and told me not to have it out in class again, and shut the door. I expected a bit more of a lecture, to be honest, but I was late for practice, and I ran off without overthinking it. When I finished practice, me and my friends were getting ready to go home. I opened my phone to see that my picture gallery was open, with a picture of me in my underwear. Mr. Westerman had been looking through my personal photos. When I thought about it, it would make sense, as I know I saw him with my phone plugged into his laptop. I decided to ask Mr. Westerman about it after class. The next time I had science, I waited until everyone had left class and asked Mr. Westerman if he looked through my phone and saved pictures to his computers. He looked at me, smiled, and said,
That's a big accusation to make. I'd be careful making accusations that you can't back up. It might ruin your future if everyone thinks you're a liar.
I felt sick and knew there was nothing else I could do, and decided to keep it to myself and not tell anyone. I didn't even tell any of my friends. I heard that Mr. Westerman was fired recently after cornering a female student after she caught him trying to peep into the girls' changing rooms. He was investigated, and inappropriate images of minors were found on his computer. I hate myself for not speaking up sooner.